100 beautiful models compete for the hand and attention of the most dangerous mafia boss in the city at a gala party. But he only has eyes for the waitress, and what happens next is shocking. Before we dive in, ladies, hit that like button. We're building the biggest romance community on YouTube, and trust me, honey, you're gonna want to be part of this sisterhood. The champagne flute shattered against the marble floor. And that's when Nina Torres knew this wasn't going to be just another Saturday night shift. Through the crystal chandeliers of the Belmont estate, she watched 100 of the world's most beautiful women descend like perfectly groomed vultures, their designer gowns worth more than she'd make in 5 years. They were all here for him, Dominic Russo. The man whose name people whispered like a prayer or a curse, depending on which side of his temper you'd seen. And there he sat, bored as a lion at a petting zoo, in the center of the grand ballroom, barely glancing at the parade of perfection strutting past his table. Nina bent to pick up the broken glass, her black uniform simple among the sea of couture. That's when she felt it, the weight of his stare. She looked up, and honey, let me tell you, when a man like Dominic Russo looks at you like you're the only person in a room full of supermodels, you either run or you play the most dangerous game of your life. Nina did neither. She held his gaze, raised one eyebrow, and kept cleaning. The room went quiet. Victoria Ashford, the blonde goddess who'd been positioning herself in his line of sight for 20 minutes, stopped mid-pose. Because everyone saw it, the shift. "You there?" Dominic's voice cut through the silence like expensive whiskey, smooth, dark, dangerous. "What's your name?" Nina straightened slowly, glass shards glinting in her hand like diamonds she'd never own. "Nina, sir. And you're blocking the service path." Somewhere in the back, a waiter gasped. "You don't tell Dominic Russo he's in your way." His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Am I? You are." She tilted her head. "Unless you'd like champagne on that $2,000 suit." The room held its breath. Then Dominic Russo did something he hadn't done in 7 years. He laughed. Victoria's perfect face twisted into something ugly for just a second before she smoothed it back. She'd spent 3 months and $40,000 preparing for tonight. This nobody in a polyester uniform wasn't going to ruin it. Marcus, Dominic's right-hand man, leaned close. "Boss, the Castellano representatives are. Tell them to wait." Dominic stood, 6'3" of controlled power in an Armani suit. He moved toward Nina like a shark deciding if you're prey or something more interesting. "You're not afraid of me." It wasn't a question. Nina met his eyes, dark, calculating, and far too intelligent. "Should I be? Everyone else is. Everyone else is boring you to death." She gestured to the models, who were now whispering furiously, their perfectly manicured hands clutching each other. "You want another pretty face telling you what you want to hear." "Sir, there are 100 of them here. I've got tables to clear." And that, my friends, is what we call playing with fire well soaked in gasoline. Now, you might think Nina was stupid, walking away from Dominic Russo. Honey, the man owned half the city's legitimate businesses and allegedly all of its illegitimate ones. But here's what Nina knew that those 100 models didn't. Powerful men don't want easy. They want challenge. They want something they can't buy. And she was right. Dominic caught her wrist not hard, but firm enough that she felt the heat of his hand through her sleeve. "Wait," his thumb pressed against her pulse point. Could he feel how her heart was hammering? Of course he could. The man didn't miss anything. "You're not like the others. Congratulations on your observational skills." Nina tried to pull away. He held on. "I could have you fired." "Then I'd be unemployed, not scared." She looked pointedly at his hand. "You going to let go, or are we dancing?" Victoria appeared at his elbow, her perfume arriving 3 seconds before she did, expensive and suffocating. "Dominic, darling, they're about to start the auction." "You promised you'd bid on my date package." Translation: she'd paid a fortune to guarantee time with him tonight, and this waitress was ruining everything. Dominic didn't even glance at her. Marcus, escort Miss Ashford to the auction. But Victoria's voice climbed an octave. We had an arrangement. We had nothing. His eyes stayed locked on Nina. Escort her now. Marcus moved in smoothly, his massive frame blocking Victoria's view. She shot Nina a look that could have curdled milk. Murder, pure, designer-wrapped murder. When they were alone as you can be in a ballroom with 200 people pretending not to stare, Dominic stepped closer. Have dinner with me. I'm working. After your shift. I'm tired after my shift. Tomorrow then. I work doubles on Sundays. She was lying. He knew she was lying. She knew he knew. This was the game. His smile widened, and Lord have mercy, the man was devastating when he actually meant it. You're going to make this difficult. I'm going to make this impossible. Nina finally pulled free. Besides, you've got 100 women here who'd kill for your attention. Why waste time on the help? Because, he said quietly, leaning close enough that she could smell his cologne cedar and something darker. You're the only interesting thing that's happened to me in 3 years. Before Nina could respond, a scream pepped through the ballroom, high-pitched, terrified. They both turned. One of the models, a redhead in emerald silk, stood frozen, staring at something in her champagne glass. Nina moved first, years of service industry instinct kicking in. She reached the girl in seconds. What's wrong? The model couldn't speak, just pointed. Floating in the champagne, small and unmistakable, was a severed finger. Still wearing a ring Nina recognized because she'd seen it 2 hours ago on the hand of James Belmont, the estate's owner and tonight's host. Chaos erupted like someone had pulled a pin on a grenade made of designer panic. Models screamed, men shouted. Security rushed in from every door, their hands already reaching for concealed weapons because, honey, at a party thrown by a man in Dominic Russo's world, security doesn't carry tasers. Nina stood perfectly still, her mind clicking through details faster than she could breathe. The finger was fresh, still bleeding slightly into the champagne, which meant James Belmont had been alive and whole less than an hour ago when he'd welcomed guests at the entrance. The ring was his wedding band, gold with a black onyx stone. His wife had died 5 years ago. He'd never taken it off. Someone had cut it off him tonight, here, while 200 people drank champagne and played at sophistication. Nobody moves. Dominic's voice cut through the hysteria like a blade. Instantly, the room went quiet. That's power. Not the kind you inherit or buy, the kind you earn by being more terrifying than whatever fresh hell just walked through the door. He looked at Marcus, locked down the estate. No one leaves, no one. Then his eyes found Nina. Still standing there, still calm, while everyone else fell apart. You, he said softly, come here. Nina walked to him through a sea of silk and panic. Victoria was clutching another model, her perfect makeup streaking with mascara tears. Real fear or performance? With that one, who could tell? You didn't scream, Dominic observed when Nina reached him. Neither did you. I'm used to blood. So am I. His eyes narrowed, calculating, reassessing. A waitress who didn't panic at severed body parts. That was interesting. That was suspicious. Where were you 20 minutes ago? Clearing glasses near the East Terrace. Anyone see you? 40 people, probably. I wasn't exactly hiding. She met his stare without flinching. You think I did this? I think, he said carefully, that someone wanted to send a message. And they chose tonight because I'm here. Congratulations. You're so important someone mutilated a man. Careful, Nina, or what? You'll have me killed. Your friend is already missing 9 fingers and probably his life. Forgive me if your threats don't rank tonight. Marcus approached, his face grim. Boss, found the rest of him. Wine cellar, it's bad. Dominic's jaw tightened. Show me, sir, Nina heard herself say. If this is a message for you, whoever sent it is still here. Watching your reaction, they'll move again. He paused, turned. You've got experience with this. It wasn't a question, and there it was. The moment Nina's carefully built ordinary life started crumbling, because she did have experience. 7 years of experience she'd spent running from. I've seen things, she said quietly. Things I'd rather forget, but you haven't forgotten. No, she swallowed. I haven't. Somewhere in the ballroom, glass shattered. Everyone jumped, except Nina and Dominic. They both turned toward the sound, bodies tensing identically, ready for violence. That's when he knew. This waitress wasn't what she seemed. And that's when Nina knew her past had just kicked down the door of her present, wearing a designer suit and carrying a severed finger. The glass had fallen from a waiter's shaking hands. Just nerves. Just panic. But the damage was done. Dominic Russo had seen how Nina moved like someone trained to expect attack. Like someone who'd survived worse than a body in a wine cellar. You, he said, voice low enough that only she could hear. With me now, I should stay with the other staff. That wasn't a request. His hand found the small of her back, guiding her through the crowd. To anyone watching, and everyone was watching, it looked protective, possessive even. But Nina felt the pressure of his fingers, firm, unyielding. She was being detained, not rescued. Victoria's voice rang out, shrill and desperate for attention. Dominic, you can't just leave us here. There's a murderer. There's security, he called back without stopping. Marcus, keep everyone calm and conscious. I need them able to answer questions. He led Nina down a corridor lined with portraits of dead Belmonts, their painted eyes following them like they knew something. The wine cellar door stood open. 2 of Dominic's men flanked it, faces pale. Nina smelled it before she saw it. Blood, lots of it. James Belmont was tied to a chair, his body slumped forward. All 10 fingers gone, his throat cut so deep his head nearly tilted backward. And carved into his chest, rough and angry, one word, thief, sweet Jesus, Nina whispered. Dominic watched her face. You've seen worse. It wasn't a question. Again, I've seen similar. Where? When? She couldn't answer. Couldn't tell him that 7 years ago, she'd been Nina Castellano, daughter of Antonio Castellano, who'd run the second largest crime family in the state before someone wiped them out in one night. Before someone killed her father exactly like this. I worked in Chicago, she said instead. Bad neighborhood, saw things, you're lying. His hand caught her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. And you're very good at it, which means you've had practice. So let's try again. Where have you seen this before? Nina's heart hammered. If he knew who she really was, if he connected her to the Castellano massacre, she was dead. The Russos and Castellanos had been enemies for 30 years. It doesn't matter where, it matters if it helps me find who did this. Why do you care? You didn't even like Belmont. Everyone knows he owed you money. Dominic's smile was sharp as the blade that had killed the man behind them. Oh, I didn't like him. He was weak, greedy, and stupid. But he was mine, under my protection. Someone killed him in a room full of witnesses at a party I was attending. That's not murder, Nina. That's declaration of war. And whoever declared it wants me to know they're not afraid. He stepped closer. So I'll ask one more time. Where have you seen this before? Nina's mind raced. Tell him and die. Don't tell him, and he'd dig until he found out anyway. Men like Dominic Russo always did. Then she saw it on the floor near the body. A calling card, soaked in blood. She recognized the symbol instantly. 3 interlocked circles. The mark of the Drakov family, Russian mob. The same people who'd killed her father. Nina's blood turned to ice water. The Drakovs, they'd found her. After 7 years of hiding, of becoming nobody, of serving champagne to people who'd never looked twice at her, they'd found her. And they'd left their calling card in blood. But why kill Belmont? Why not just take her? You recognize it. Dominic's voice cut through her panic. He was watching her face like a man reading a book he'd memorized. The symbol, you know what it means. No, don't. His hand shot out, gripping her wrist. Don't insult my intelligence. Your pupils dilated, your breathing changed. You went pale, then flushed. Classic fear response. So either you're in danger, or you're part of this. Which is it? Nina pulled against his grip. He held firm. I'm just a waitress, and I'm just a businessman. His smile was cruel. We both know that's a lie. So let's deal in truth. That symbol belongs to the Drakov organization. Russian mob, very nasty people. And you recognize it instantly, which means you've seen it before. Which means you're connected to them somehow. I'm not. Then how do you know their mark? Checkmate. She'd given herself away. Nina's mind raced through options. Run. She'd never make it past his security. Fight? He had 80 pounds and 6 inches on her, plus military training if the way he moved was any indication. Lie better. He'd already caught her into fine. She stopped struggling. You want truth? That symbol represents the people who destroyed my life 7 years ago. The people I've been hiding from ever since. And if they're here, if they did this, her voice cracked. Then they know where I am, and I'm dead. Dominic's grip loosened slightly. 7 years ago, Chicago. His eyes widened. The Castellano massacre. Oh God, he'd figured it out. You're Antonio Castellano's daughter. The one who disappeared. Everyone assumed you were dead. There was so much blood at the scene, I got out. Nina's voice was flat, barely. I was 21. I watched them kill my father, my brothers, my uncle. They would have killed me too, but I ran. I've been running ever since, and came here, to my city. Working at a party I'd attend, suspicion crept back into his voice. That's convenient. That's survival. I didn't know whose territory this was until I was already here, already working. By then, leaving would have drawn more attention. So I kept my head down and prayed no one would recognize me. But someone did. Marcus's voice came from the doorway. Boss, we've got a problem. One of the models is missing, Victoria Ashford. Security cameras show her slipping away 15 minutes ago. And he paused. We found her phone. She's been texting someone all night. Last message said, the Castellano girl is here, just like you thought. The world tilted sideways. Victoria, that designer rap snake, had recognized her. But how? Nina had changed everything, her hair, her name, her whole face practically. She'd been a brunette at 21. Now she was blonde. She'd worn contacts to change her eye color. She'd even had her nose done during the early days of hiding. How did she know? Nina's voice sounded distant to her own ears. Dominic pulled out his phone, fingers flying across the screen. Marcus, pull up Ashford's background, everything, family, finances, connections. Do it now. He looked at Nina. The Drakovs didn't find you by accident. Someone told them, someone who knew your face well enough to see through the changes. But I don't know any Victoria Ashford. Maybe not by that name. He showed her his phone. Victoria's modeling portfolio, pages of photos, professional shots, candid shots, editorial spreads. And there, in one image from 4 years ago, barely visible in the background of a fashion show after party, a face Nina recognized. Alexei Drakov, Viktor Drakov's son, the man who'd slit her father's throat. She's connected to them, Nina breathed. She's been watching for you. How long have you worked here? 3 months. And she only appeared in the city 2 months ago. First modeling gig in this area. Dominic's jaw tightened. This whole thing, the party, the competition for my attention, bringing 100 models here, it was a setup. They needed a reason to have her here without raising suspicion, and they needed me distracted. Why? Because a new voice said from behind them, "You've been very bad about paying your debts, Mr. Russo." They spun around. Victoria stood in the doorway, but she wasn't alone. Two men flanked her, both holding guns, both very clearly Russian. And Victoria's face god, her face was different. The helpless model act had evaporated. What remained was cold, calculating, and utterly devoid of mercy. "Hello, Nina." Victoria's smile was a razor. "It's been 7 years. You've aged well. Shame about what's going to happen to that pretty face." "Victoria Drakov, I presume," Dominic said calmly. Too calmly, like a man who'd been in this situation before. "Alexei's wife." "How domestic, widow," she corrected. "You had him killed 2 years ago. Sent a message to my father-in-law." But Viktor Drakov doesn't forget, and he doesn't forgive. Her eyes flickered to Nina, and when we discovered dear Nina was alive. "Working in your territory, well, that was just delicious irony. 2 birds, 1 very bloody stone. You killed Belmont to frame me," Nina realized. "To make it look like I was working with the Drakovs. So Dominic would kill me himself. Smart girl, too smart. That's why you had to die back then. Antonio's brilliant daughter, already learning the business. Already making connections. You would have made the Castellanos untouchable." Victoria's gun lifted, aimed at Nina's chest. "But you're just a waitress now. Nobody, nothing wrong," Dominic said quietly. And faster than Nina could track, he moved. His hand caught Victoria's wrist, twisting. The gun fired, but he'd already redirected it. The bullet hit one of the Russian men instead. Marcus appeared from somewhere, tackling the second guard. The cellar erupted into violence, and Nina, God help her, didn't freeze. 7 years of suppressed training roared back to life. She dove for the fallen guard's weapon, rolled, came up firing, not to kill, to disable. Her father's voice echoed in her head. "A Castellano doesn't murder in panic." "We're strategic." The second guard went down, shoulder bleeding. Victoria screamed in rage and lunged not at Dominic, but at Nina. They crashed into wine racks, bottles shattering. Glass cut Nina's face. Victoria's nails raked her neck. But Nina had grown up in a world where pretty faces hid killers. She'd been trained by the best. She brought her knee up hard. Victoria crumpled. When the chaos cleared 30 seconds that felt like 30 years, all 3 attackers were down. Dominic stood over Victoria, breathing hard, his suit torn, blood on his knuckles. Marcus was zip-tying the guards. And Nina sat against a wine rack, holding a gun, looking exactly like what she tried to hide for 7 years. A Castellano, dangerous, trained, lethal. Dominic stared at her. "You lied about being nobody." "I became nobody," she corrected. "There's a difference." "Not anymore." He extended his hand. "Because everybody upstairs heard those shots." "And now, Nina Torres, or should I say, Nina Castellano, you've just announced to the entire criminal underworld that you're alive. There's no hiding now." She took his hand, let him pull her up. "So what happens now?" His smile was dark and full of promise. "Now, you survive with me." The ballroom had transformed from a glittering showcase of wealth into a crime scene that would make seasoned detectives lose their lunch. Dominic kept Nina's hand in his as they ascended the cellar stairs, partly protective, partly possessive, and if we're being honest, partly because he didn't trust her not to bolt. Can you blame him? The woman had lied about literally everything except her name. Maybe Marcus had already corralled the remaining guests into the main hall. 100 models, 50 wealthy backers, assorted staff, and enough nervous energy to power a small city. They all turned when Dominic entered, Nina at his side. The whispers started immediately. "That's the waitress. She was shooting. Did you see her move?" "That wasn't normal. I heard her name, Castellano, like the family. That was quiet." Dominic's voice wasn't loud. "Didn't need to be. The room fell silent like someone had hit a mute button on reality. Here's what's going to happen. You're all going to give your statements to my security team. You're going to be thorough. You're going to be honest. Because if I find out anyone here knew about tonight's festivities and didn't speak up, he paused, let the threat hang in the air like expensive perfume gone sour. Well, let's just say James Belmont got off easy. A model in the back fainted. Nina watched Dominic work the room, his presence alone enough to make grown men sweat through $1,000 shirts. This was his kingdom. These were his subjects. And he ruled with the kind of absolute authority that came from having enough power to destroy lives before breakfast. Boss, Marcus approached quietly. Police are at the gate. Real police. Someone called 911. Of course they did. Dominic's jaw tightened. Let them in. We've got nothing to hide now. He glanced at Nina. Officially. She caught his meaning. Unofficially, they had a Castellano princess, a dead informant, and 3 Russian mob operatives in the wine cellar. Oh, and enough illegal weapons to arm a small militia, but details, right? Detective Sarah Chen arrived with 6 uniforms and the kind of tired eyes that said she'd seen Dominic Russo's name on too many reports. Mr. Russo, of course you're here. Detective Chen, always a pleasure. His smile was all teeth. I'm afraid we've had an incident. An incident, right. That's what we're calling triple homicide now. Self-defense, actually. 3 armed assailants attacked myself and my guest. He gestured to Nina. This is Nina Torres. She saved my life. Nina felt every eye in the room laser focus on her. Great. Exactly what she needed. More attention. Chen's gaze swept over Nina, taking in the torn uniform, the cuts on her face, the way she stood balanced, ready, dangerous. Torres, that name just appeared in our system 20 minutes ago. Funny thing, it didn't exist before 3 months ago. Almost like someone created it. Damn, the detective was good. I changed my name, Nina said calmly. Bad relationship, stalker situation. I'm sure you understand. What I understand, Miss Torres, is that you're standing in a room full of bodies, holding a man's hand who runs half the criminal enterprises in this city, and lying to my face. Chen stepped closer. So let's try again. Who are you really? Dominic's hand tightened on Nina's. A warning, don't, but Nina was done running. Done hiding. The Dracos knew she was alive. The whole criminal underworld would know by morning. Might as well control the narrative. My real name is Nina Castellano, she said clearly, daughter of Antonio Castellano. Sole survivor of the Castellano family massacre 7 years ago. And tonight, the people who killed my family tried to finish the job. The room exploded, phones appeared, cameras flashed. Models gasped like they'd rehearsed it, and Detective Chen's face went absolutely blank, that special kind of cop blank that meant her entire world had just shifted sideways. Jesus Christ, she breathed. You're the ghost. The one everyone said died. The one with the... She stopped, looked at Dominic. Then back at Nina. You've been here for 3 months, working in his territory. I didn't know whose territory it was when I arrived. Sure you didn't. But Chen's expression said she was calculating angles, measuring possibilities. And tonight, conveniently, your father's murderers show up at a party you're working. At a party he's attending. She pointed at Dominic. You expect me to believe that's coincidence. I expect you to investigate the 3 bodies in the cellar who tried to kill us both, Dominic said coldly. Unless you'd prefer I handle this my way. Which I promise you, detective, will be much messier and significantly less legal. Chen called for backup, not regular backup, federal backup. Because the moment Nina's real name hit the system, every alphabet agency in a 3-state radius wanted a piece of this story. Nina found herself separated from Dominic, sitting in what used to be a library, now converted into a makeshift interrogation room. Agent William Foster, FBI, sat across from her with a file thick enough to kill someone if you threw it hard enough. Nina Maria Castellano, born July 15, 1997, daughter of Antonio and Sofia Castellano. To brothers Marco and Lucas, Uncle Dominic. Oh, that's confusing. Different Dominic. He smiled without humor. All dead, massacred in one night. February 2018, you were 21. A senior at Northwestern, studying international business, straight as, multiple languages. You were being groomed to take over the family's legitimate operations. He leaned forward, then you vanished. 57 people saw the aftermath. Nobody saw you. Not alive, not dead. Your blood was at the scene, but no body. Where'd you go, Nina? She met his stare. I ran for 7 years. For 7 years and landed here. In Dominic Russo's territory. The Russos, who were your father's primary competition, his occasional enemy. You expect me to believe you didn't come here specifically to what? Avenge my family by becoming a waitress, Nina laughed, sharp and bitter. I came here because it was far from Chicago. Far from anyone who knew my face. I thought I'd be invisible. Nobody's invisible in Dominic Russo's world. I learned that tonight. Foster flipped through the file. The Drakov family, Victor, the patriarch. His sons Alexei, deceased, Dmitry, currently in Russia. His daughter-in-law, Victoria, Nee Victoria Kowalski, married Alexei 3 years ago. He slid a photo across. Recognize her. Victoria's face stared up from the glossy print, but this wasn't model Victoria. This was younger Victoria, harder Victoria, standing next to Alexei Drakov at some kind of formal event. She's the one who tried to kill me tonight, Nina confirmed. After setting up this entire evening as a trap, she killed James Belmont to frame me. To make Dominic think I was working with the Drakovs, and were you. If I was working with the people who butchered my family, Agent Foster, I deserve whatever bullet you're thinking about right now. He studied her. You know how to handle a weapon. Our officers found your prints on the gun. Very clean shooting, disabled, didn't kill. That's professional training. My father believed in preparation. Your father believed in creating an empire through violence. My father, Nina said quietly, believed in protecting what was his. There's a difference between violence and defense. He taught me defense. Defense that included how to break a trained operative's arm in for places. Because that's what you did to one of those Russians. I've seen the x-rays. Nina said nothing. Foster sighed. Here's my problem. I've got a dead crime boss, 3 dead or critically injured Russian mob enforcers, and the resurrected daughter of another dead crime boss standing in the middle of it all, holding hands with yet another crime boss. This looks bad from every angle. Looks bad, or is inconvenient, excuse me. You've been after the Drakovs for what, 5 years? More, and you've gotten nowhere because they're ghosts. They operate through intermediaries, shell companies, encrypted communications. But tonight, you've got Victoria Drakov alive, in custody. Singing about her father-in-law's operations to avoid death penalty charges, Nina leaned forward. I handed you the biggest break in your case. So you can charge me with self-defense that any jury would understand, or you can use me to bring down the organization that's killed 18 people in this city alone in the last 2 years. Your choice, Agent Foster. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and something shifted in his expression. What? Victoria Drakov just asked for a deal. Full cooperation. Everything she knows about the organization. He looked at Nina with new respect. How do you know she talk? Because women like Victoria don't go down for men's crimes. She married into the Drakovs. She's not blood. That means she's expendable to them, and she knows it. Self-preservation is a powerful motivator. Foster stood. You're free to go for now. Don't leave the city. We'll have more questions. I'm sure you will. Nina rose, every muscle aching. Agent Foster. When you bring down Viktor Drekov, I want to watch. That's not how this works. Make it work. She moved to the door, paused. He took everything from me. I deserve to see him lose everything too. Dawn was breaking over the Belmont estate, painting the blood-stained marble in shades of pink and gold. Poetic, really, death and beauty, hand in hand like lovers at a massacre. Nina found Dominic on the terrace, watching the sunrise, still in his ruined Armani suit. He didn't turn when she approached. The FBI let you go. For now, she stood beside him. Your detective friend wasn't happy about it. Sarah's never happy when I'm involved in anything. He finally looked at her. You should have told me who you were. Would you have let me live if I had? His silence was answer enough. The Russos and Castellanos had bad blood going back 30 years. Her grandfather had killed his uncle. His father had destroyed her grandfather's empire. Round and round the hatred went, generation after generation. My father, Dominic said quietly, spoke about Antonio Castellano exactly twice in my presence. Once when I was 15, he said, that man is the only person in this business I truly respect. The second time was 3 days before Antonio died. He said, if something happens to the Castellanos, we don't touch it. We don't exploit it. Some things are wrong, even for us. Nina's throat tightened. I didn't know that. Nobody did. My father kept his honor close and his enemies closer. But he drew lines. The massacre crossed every single one. He turned to face her fully. Viktor Drekov didn't just kill your family, Nina. He violated codes that kept this world from complete chaos. And nobody could touch him because nobody could prove it. He's that good. Until tonight. Until tonight, he agreed. Victoria will talk. The FBI will build their case. Within 6 months, Viktor Drekov will be in a federal prison or dead. Either way, he's finished, and me. You're the Castellano heir, the only one left. Your father's territory, his operations, his legitimate businesses, they've been in limbo for 7 years. Liquidated, absorbed, scattered. But his name still means something. His reputation, his legend, and now you're back. Dominic stepped closer. So the question is, what do you want? Nina Castellano, God, what did she want? For 7 years, she'd wanted nothing but survival, invisibility, peace. But peace was for people who hadn't watched their family die. Peace was for people who didn't wake up screaming. I want the Drakovs destroyed, she said, completely. I want every person who helped them, who knew what they did and said nothing, who profited from my family's death. I want them gone. Revenge, justice. Same thing in our world. He touched her face gently, his thumb tracing the cut on her cheek. But justice takes time, patience, strategy. Can you be patient, Nina? Or will you go off half-cocked and get yourself killed? I survived 7 years by being patient. You survived 7 years by being invisible. That option is gone. Now you're the most visible target in the criminal underworld. Every enemy your father made, every rival family, every ambitious young sociopath who wants to make a name, they're all going to come for you. Because killing the last Castellano, that's a crown you wear in this life. Fear should have swamped her. Terror should have sent her running. Instead, Nina felt something else, something cold and sharp and long buried. Her father's daughter rising from 7 years of ashes. Let them come. You'll need protection. I can protect myself against 1 person, 2, maybe 5. But they'll send armies, Nina, and you can't fight armies alone. His hand slid to the back of her neck, pulling her closer. You need allies. You need power. You need someone who knows this world and how to survive it. Someone like you. Someone exactly like me. His breath was warm against her lips. Here's what I'm offering. My protection, my resources, my name. In exchange, you help me destroy the Drakovs completely. Not just Viktor, the whole organization. every branch, every operation, every dirty cop and bot politician. We burn it all down together, and after, you rebuild your family's legacy. Or don't, your choice, but you'll be alive to make it. It was a devil's bargain. Alliance with a man as dangerous as the people hunting her. But what choice did she have? Go it alone and die within a week? Or take his hand and at least have a chance? Nina pulled back slightly. If I do this, I'm not your pet. Not your trophy, not your kept woman. We're equals or we're enemies. Choose. Dominic's smile was slow, dangerous, and genuinely pleased. I was hoping you'd say that. He released her. Step back. All business now. Equals means you pull your weight. I'm not carrying dead weight, no matter how pretty or how tragic your backstory. Fair equals means my enemies become your enemies. I've got a lot of enemies, Nina. More than your father had, more than you're ready for. I'm a Castellano. I was born ready for enemies. We'll see. He pulled out his phone. Marcus, conference room, bring the files. All of them. He glanced at Nina. You want to destroy the Dracos? First, you need to understand them. Their structure, their operations, their weaknesses. You've been running from them for 7 years. Time to stop running and start hunting. 20 minutes later, Nina sat in the Belmont Estates conference room, now very clearly Dominic's war room, surrounded by files, photographs, and organizational charts that would make the FBI weep with envy. Marcus stood at a whiteboard, marker in hand, looking like a very dangerous professor about to teach a masterclass in criminal enterprise. The Drakov organization, he began, operates on 3 primary levels. Street level, drugs, prostitution, protection rackets. Mid-level, money laundering through legitimate businesses, gun running, human trafficking. Top level, political corruption, corporate espionage, international weapons deals. He tapped a photo of Viktor Drakov. Viktor is 72, old school, brutal but smart. He came to the U.S. in 1995 with nothing. Built his empire through sheer violence and strategic alliances. He has 5 legitimate children, 12 illegitimate ones that we know of, and enough grandchildren to fill a school bus. Alexei was his favorite, Nina said, staring at the photo of Victoria's dead husband. I remember my father talking about him, said he was smarter than Victor. More ruthless, he was, Dominic confirmed. Which is why I had him killed. The room went silent. Nina's head snapped toward him. What? 2 years ago? Alexei was expanding into my territory. Not asking, not negotiating, just taking. He thought because his father was Viktor Drakov, I'd bend. Dominic's smile was arctic. I don't bend. I broke him instead, made it look like a rival family did it. Viktor suspected, but couldn't prove it. That's why tonight happened. Victoria has been planning revenge for 2 years. Using you was just convenient bonus cruelty. Nina processed this, so you're the reason she wants you dead. I'm one of many reasons people want me dead, but yes. And you didn't think to mention this before agreeing to help me destroy her family? Would it have changed your answer? No, then why waste the words? He gestured to the board. Continue, Marcus. Marcus cleared his throat. Viktor has 3 main enforcers. Yuri Volkov, his head of security, former Spetsnaz, extremely dangerous. Pavel Sokolow runs his street operations, violent but predictable. And Katrina Orlova, his accountant, she's the brains. She knows where every dollar flows, every body's buried, every dirty secret. He tapped Katrina's photo. She's also Viktor's mistress, has been for 20 years. Weakness, Nina said immediately. If we turn her, we can't turn her, Dominic interrupted. She's loyal to Viktor in ways that transcend money or fear. That's genuine devotion. Probably the only genuine thing in his entire organization. Then we use that devotion against him, Nina insisted. Make him think she's betrayed him. Plant evidence, create suspicion. Let Victor destroy his own operation from the inside. Marcus and Dominic exchanged glances. She's good, Marcus said. She's a Castellano, Dominic replied. They invented half these plays. He looked at Nina with something that might have been approval, but it's risky. If Victor doesn't believe the deception, we've shown our hand and gained nothing. If he does believe it, we've destroyed his financial infrastructure and his personal support system in one move. Nina stood, moving to the board. Here's what we do. Victoria is talking to the FBI. She's giving them information. We make sure some of that information carefully curated, partially true information gets leaked to Victor. Make him think Katrina is the source. His paranoia will do the rest. And how do we make sure this information gets to him? Through his son, Dmitry, Nina pointed to his photo. He's in Russia, but he's Victor's eyes and ears internationally. If Dmitry tells Victor that Katrina is compromised, Victor will believe it. Brothers don't lie about threats to the family. Dmitry won't help us, Marcus said. Dmitry won't know he's helping us. Nina's smile was sharp. We give him information that's accurate enough to be verified, damning enough to create suspicion, and delivered in a way that makes him think he discovered it himself. Then we sit back and watch the Drekhoffs tear each other apart. The plan took 2 weeks to execute. 2 weeks of careful manipulation, strategic leaks, and enough spycraft nonsense to make Nina feel like she was living in a thriller novel. Spoiler alert, real espionage is mostly boring. Lots of waiting, lots of watching, lots of pretending to be someone you're not. Good thing Nina had 7 years of practice. Dominic had set her up in a secure apartment in the city. Top floor, 3 exits, security that would make the Secret Service jealous, and a view of the harbor that probably cost more per month than Nina used to make in a year. She stood at the window now, watching ships come and go, and tried not to think about how much her life had changed in 14 days. From invisible waitress to criminal princess. From nobody to somebody everybody wanted dead. Fun times. Her phone buzzed. Dominic, it's done. Dmitry took the bait. He's flying in tomorrow to confront Victor personally. And Katrina disappeared 3 hours ago. Saw the writing on the wall and ran. Smart woman, his voice held approval. Victor is in his Chicago compound, surrounded by guards, probably drinking himself into a rage. Everything is falling into place. Then why do you sound worried? Because when things fall into place too easily, it usually means we missed something. Nina's stomach tightened. What could we have missed? I don't know. That's what worries me. He paused. Stay in the apartment tonight. Don't go anywhere. Don't open the door for anyone except Marcus or me. Dominic, promise me, Nina. She heard something in his voice. Fear, concern. From a man who faced down death like a casual acquaintance, I promise. She hung up, unease crawling down her spine like spiders made of ice. The apartment felt too quiet. Too still, she checked the locks, checked the security system, checked the gun Dominic had given her loaded, safety off, within reach, old habits from her childhood rising up. Her father's voice in her head, if something feels wrong, it probably is. Trust your instincts, something felt wrong. The security camera feed showed an empty hallway. The motion sensors read clear. But Nina's instincts were screaming. She moved away from the window, keeping to the shadows. Pulled out her phone to call Dominic. The lights went out, all of them, at once. Emergency backup should have kicked in immediately. It didn't. Oh, that's not good, Nina whispered. She heard it then, a soft sound, metal on metal. Someone picking the lock. But that was impossible. The lock was electronic, encrypted, unhackable according to Dominic's security expert. Unless someone had the override code. Unless someone inside Dominic's organization had given it to them. The door opened silently. Nina's gun came up, finger on the trigger. A figure stepped through, tall, male, moving with military precision. "Don't shoot," a familiar voice said. "It's me, Marcus." Nina's finger stayed on the trigger. "Why are the lights out?" "Electrical problem. I came to evacuate you." "Boss's orders. He just called me. Said to stay here. Plans changed." "Victor's people know where you are. We have to move now." Every instinct Nina had screamed danger. Marcus had been with them through everything, loyal, trusted, Dominic's right hand for 15 years, but something was wrong. "Turn on your flashlight," she said, "so I can see your face." "There's no time. Turn on your flashlight." He did. And Nina saw it, the expression in his eyes, cold. Calculating, nothing like the Marcus who'd zip-tied Russians and called her kid and treated her like a little sister. This was someone else, someone wearing Marcus's face. "Who are you?" she breathed. "I'm disappointed, Nina." His voice changed. Accent thickening, Russian creeping in around the edges. "I thought you'd figure it out sooner. Then again, you were only 21 when we killed your family." Still so young, so naive, her blood turned to ice. "You were there, at the massacre." "I was more than there, darling. I planned it." He smiled, and it was the cruelest thing Nina had ever seen. 15 years I've been Dominic Russo's most trusted man. 15 years, reporting everything back to Victor your father knew. He was closing in. So we had to act fast, brutal, complete. He stepped closer. "Your father died quickly. I made sure of that. Professional respect. But your brothers, your uncle, they took ours. And they died knowing I'd betrayed them. That the man they'd shared drinks with, laughed with, trusted I was their death. Why?" Nina's voice cracked. "Why pretend to be Marcus all this time? Because Victor is patient. Because revenge is a dish best served cold. And because," his smile widened, "Dominic Russo trusting me completely is worth more than any quick kill could be." Nina's mind raced faster than her heart, which was saying something given her pulse was trying to break the sound barrier. If Marcus was compromised, if he'd been Victor's plant for 15 years, then everything they'd done, every plan they'd made, Victor knew about it. The operation against Katrina. The information leaked to Dmitri, all of it. This wasn't their trap for the Drakovs. This was the Drakovs' trap for them. "Dominic," she whispered. "Oh, he's busy." Not Marcus checked his watch. Right about now, he's discovering that his entire security team has been replaced with Victor's men. The compound is surrounded. He has maybe 10 minutes before they breach his defenses. Less if he tries to call for backup, since I control all his communications. He tilted his head. "You could warn him. If you could get past me, but we both know you can't. I killed 3 of your people 2 weeks ago. You killed expendable muscle." "I'm not expendable muscle, Nina. I'm Yuri Volkov. Victor's head of security, former Spetsnaz. And I've been waiting 7 years to finish what we started with your family." He was right. She couldn't beat him in a straight fight. He was bigger, stronger, better trained, but her father had taught her something important. Never fight fair when fighting for your life. Nina dove sideways, not toward the door he'd expect that, but toward the window. She fired twice, not at Yuri, at the glass. The bulletproof window cracked but didn't shatter, damn, but the sound was deafening in the enclosed space. Yuri's eyes widened. "You'll bring building security. That's the idea." She fired again. This time at the sprinkler system. Water exploded from the ceiling. Alarms shrieked. Emergency lights flickered on red and strobing. Yuri lunged. Nina was already moving. She'd spent 2 weeks learning every inch of this apartment. Every entrance, every exit, every potential weapon. The expensive vase on the table, ceramic, heavy, perfect. She grabbed it, spun, smashed it against his head as he came at her. He staggered. She ran. Out the door, down the hallway, residents emerging confused and frightened, and Nina screamed, "Fire!" Everyone out, chaos erupted. People fled. Yuri emerged from her apartment, blood streaming down his face, murder in his eyes. But now there were witnesses. He couldn't just shoot her. Too many cameras, too many people. Nina hit the stairwell, taking stairs 3 at a time, phone out, dialing Dominic. It rang once. Nina aware of gunfire, shouting, screaming, "Dominic." "It's a trap, Marcus is. I know. He's Yuri Volkov. He's been with Victor all along. More gunfire." "I'm pinned down warehouse district, Nina. Run." "I'm not running anymore." She burst out of the building into the street. "Where are you exactly?" Nina, no, where? He gave her the address. She had one advantage. Yuri thought she'd run away from Dominic, not toward him. She stole a motorcycle from a parking lot. Sorry, random citizen, emergency, and rode like hell itself was chasing her. Because it basically was. The warehouse district was burning, literally, orange flames against black sky, smoke billowing, and the sound of sustained gunfire that said this wasn't a fight anymore. It was a war. Nina ditched the bike a block away, approached on foot. Victor's men surrounded the building. Maybe 20 of them, all armed, all professional. All between her and Dominic. She had one gun, 8 bullets. And absolutely terrible odds, but she was a Castellano. And Castellanos didn't abandon their allies. Nina pulled out her phone one more time. Called 911. There's a terrorist attack at the warehouse district. Multiple shooters. Explosives. Send everything. She hung up. Sirens would arrive in 5 minutes, maybe less. She just had to keep Dominic alive that long. Nina moved through shadows, using smoke as cover. Took out the first guard silently, blow to the throat, knee to the groin, gun to the head. He went down without a sound. 1 down, 19 to go. The second guard heard something, turned, saw her. She shot him before he could shout, 2 down. Now they knew she was here. The element of surprise died faster than Victor's men deserved. Gunfire erupted. Nina ran, ducked, rolled behind a dumpster as bullets sparked off metal. This was insane. This was suicide. This was exactly what her father would have done. She fired blind, heard someone scream, 3 down, reloaded her last magazine. 5 bullets left, 15 men remaining. Math was not on her side. Then the world exploded. Not metaphorically. The warehouse actually exploded. Dominic must have triggered something because suddenly there was fire and debris and screaming men, and in the chaos, Nina saw him. Emerging from the inferno like something out of mythology. Covered in soot and blood, but alive, armed, and absolutely furious. Their eyes met across the destruction. He saw her, saw what she'd done, saw that she'd come for him instead of running. Something shifted in his expression. Then they fought back to back. Like they trained together for years instead of weeks. He went left, she went right. He provided covering fire, she advanced. She reloaded, he pressed forward. They moved like one entity with 2 bodies and a singular purpose, survival. Police sirens wailed, getting closer. Victor's remaining men scattered. Nina and Dominic kept firing until the last one fell. Then silence, just breathing, just heartbeats, just 2 people who'd survived the impossible. Dominic grabbed her face, kissed her hard. "You're insane. You're welcome. I told you to stay in the apartment. You're bad at being the boss of me." He laughed, actually laughed. Then pulled back. Yuri got away. But he won't get far, not after tonight. Victor's operation is finished. Victor's still alive. Not for long. Nina's voice was steel. Because I'm coming for him, and this time he won't see me coming until it's too late. 6 weeks later, Victor Drekov died in federal custody, heart attack, officially. But the prison guard who delivered his medication had a familiar face. One that knew exactly how much of certain substances could mimic natural causes. Nina watched the news report from Dominic's penthouse. She felt nothing, no satisfaction, no joy, just closure. "It's done," Dominic said quietly. "It's done," she agreed. He poured two glasses of whiskey, handed her one, to the Castellanos. "To your father, to your family, to the Russos," she countered. "To allies who become more," they drank. And in that moment, Nina Castellano finally stopped running. She'd found something her 7 years of hiding never gave her, a place where she belonged. Not despite the danger, but because of it. This was her world now, violent, complex, brutal, honest. And she was done apologizing for who she was. So Dominic said, "What now?" Nina smiled. "Now we rebuild, together, my family's legacy and your empire, combined, partners." "Equals? I can work with that." He pulled her close. "The criminal underworld won't know what hit them. Neither will anyone who thinks we're easy targets." She kissed him. "Let them come. We'll be ready." And they were.